to tell you about a young monk, Tenzin Nyima from Kham in eastern Tibet. Together with friends, he held a peaceful demonstration outside a police station. They threw some leaflets calling for Tibetan independence. This was on the 7th of November 2019. We were probably still complaining about the fireworks, doing supermarket shopping, and according to our diary, my husband had his hair cut, an ordinary day. Not for me, Tenzin and his friends. Predictably, they were all arrested and detained. To put it in context, I regularly protest outside the Chinese embassy in London. On a normal Wednesday, there are about 5 of us. The staff at the embassy don't like it, but they have accepted that our protests are both peaceful and legal. Often the local police come and chat to us. They've been known to offer us sweets and we've shared goodies with them, as it should be. But after the Friends' arrests, military troops were deployed in the area. 6 months later, Tenzin Nyima was released, but almost immediately rearrested because he'd shared news of his arrest with exiled Tibetans in India. Just 2 months later, 2 months after being rearrested, his family was told that his health had deteriorated and he was in a coma. They took him to hospital but couldn't afford the equivalent of £4,500 required for his treatment.
Lady Mayors, Catherine, Sister Marita, it is a great pleasure for me today to come here in this holy place with your teacher, with his honorable picture and the flag of Tibet. This flag represents 6 million people, and the history of this flag goes back to 7th century, when Tibet was a great empire in Central Asia. Each of these tribes are a military banner, and in 1916, a Japanese student in the court of the 13th Dalai Lama is said to have came up with the combined flag symbol which exists now. And as Catherine has already said, that millions of people, it is estimated that 1.2 million Tibetans have died since 1949 and 50, when the Chinese occupied Tibet. It is a symbol, it is a cherished item for Tibet, and its soul is in this flag, that no matter how much Tibetans have suffered, they are still valuing the flag, still valuing His Holiness's guidance, and people are there to die for it. So the fact that the mayor and mayors of Milton King has honored to come here in this small ceremony, it is not just symbolism, but it is, we will be showing this to the world, and they will be seen by people all over the world, especially Tibetans in Tibet. And they will take huge amount of comfort and solace that what they cannot have in their own land can be preserved outside, and they will value that enormously. So, although we are doing this in a temple with so few people due to the circumstances, but the fact that this will be seen and appreciated by especially Tibetans in Tibet will be a great, great privilege for them, that what the people have suffered and who have sacrificed their life hasn't gone in vain. And we have this kind of ceremony, flag raising, all over the world. Many ordinary institutions, ordinary people, some friendly countries also put the flag up, because this is a non-violent way of showing solidarity to the Tibetan people, that the Chinese have occupied your land, but the spirit of Tibet and the guidance of the sovereign is still relevant and for the perseverance of our culture. So, in a very small way, tomorrow, unfortunately, will be the 31st anniversary of the abduction of the Panchen Lama, the second most revered religious teacher of Tibet. There are two main lineage in Tibet who are revered. Highest one is Dalai Lama, second one is the Panchen Lama. And the 10th Panchen Lama died in 1989. His reincarnation was recognized by His Holiness and also through the search party in 1995. As soon as he was recognized by Dalai Lama, the Chinese abducted him. So for 30 years, we do not know whereabouts him, what is he doing, and he is deprived of his teachings, his knowledge, his lineage to the people. So this is a magnitude of what the Chinese are going to, banning a religious teacher, killing people who they say they are separatists for owning a picture of His Holiness, picture of the flag. So there is a huge amount of, what can we say, the Chinese are all the time overpowering the Tibetan, and the latest thing they're doing is they want all aspects of Tibetan culture, their religion, their language, their arts, to be called Chinese, to be Sinicized. We have our own language going for many centuries, and they want to make this into a Chinese. They want to Sinicize this. So, in a nutshell, the greatest threat to Tibetan culture is now the Chinese people's indoctrination of the Tibetan mind, Tibetan people's freedom of thinking. So this is the greatest challenge that we have. Of course, with the passage of the time, His Holiness is now 86. His Holiness has given us assurance that he will live up to 110, 120.
To join you this afternoon, and I am pleased, I'm delighted that even though in small number, we are able to be here in person. Because at the end of the day, we are, as human beings, social creatures who are designed to meet together in person and to be with one another. Can I commend you, all of you, for arranging a COVID-safe and COVID-secure and COVID-compliant, can I call it ceremony this afternoon? It feels more relaxed than a ceremony. It feels more something in the way of almost a commemoration where we remember those with whom we stand in solidarity, because we actually realise, and I think that what you said at the beginning, Catherine, bears it out, that we actually meet in solidarity with people who are so much less fortunate than we are. We may think over the last 15 months that we have suffered somewhat of an oppression thanks to coronavirus. We learn from the very stirring words, if I may, that you and indeed Solomon have already given us, that actually we suffer nothing compared to other areas of the world who live every day under that threat of arrest and abuse. I confess that I have committed a schoolboy error. What I had planned to say and what I had scribed I will not be able to, because I've left my glasses at home and I can't read without it. Nonetheless, actually, from what I've heard from the both of you, it almost now seems of little relevance. Because I think I speak for Lisa and myself when I say not only is it a privilege to be here, to continue the tradition of the first citizens of this place raising the flag to stand in solidarity with those who suffer. But it is also a time when we can learn just a little of what we didn't know before and go away enriched with greater knowledge. And actually what we learn and what we take will be far greater than what we can give to you today. Because all we can give to you is that solidarity. All we can give is that support that says, yes, we do stand with you, albeit at a distance, but we recognise and we accept and we're very much prepared to do our bit in ensuring that the oppression that the Tibetan people suffer is not forgotten, either in this country or around the world. Catherine, you talk about numbers and the fact that it is disappointing that we are much lower numbers, and yes it is. But I'm actually reminded in my own tradition and our own faith, the Christian faith, of what is written in the scriptures where it says, when two or three are gathered together, there am I in the midst of them. That applies to all faiths. It matters little that we are here in small number, because we are here doing what is right. We are here doing what we need to do to support those who are here. And the fact that we can be here in any number at all, as you say, is so much better than it was last year, when everything had to be done virtually for very good reasons. At least this year we are able to acknowledge it in some smaller way, in person. And I'm going to close, as I would have done, I think, if I'd been able to read the script that I had prepared, by just not reading, but reciting, because I do know them by heart, some words from the verse of a hymn that if I'd had a civic service this year, we would have sung. Some words that were, yes, written by a Christian hymn writer, but actually apply, I think, to all faiths, to all cultures, and to all creeds. Where the writer of the hymn said, all that kills abundant living, let it from the earth be banned. Pride of status, rule or schooling, dogmas to obscure life's plan. In our common quest for justice, may we echo life's brief span.